I've also been looking at the swords. I did enough research that I found like the good
would
sword
you please
website.
get a sword or two?
Be a sword guy, man.
Kyle,
Lean
I think
in.
you're taking too long to buy a sword as if you're limiting yourself to just one. Narrow it down to 2 or 3.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself with the sword because I know I'm going to like play with it. The website I was looking at has swords that are meant for like competition chopping, like cutting through that whatever that media is, like bamboo or whatever the fuck they do. And it's like this
Water
sword
bottles.
it's like a real deal. No, they do a thing. I know I've seen the Japanese guys do where they've got.
Oh yeah, they have like it's like a slanted.
It's like rolled up fucking bamboo or reeds or something. Yeah. Anyway, they've got like a target and like a perfect. They show that if you're not good with a katana, you can't chop through all of that shit. But if you're really good with it in one slash, you can.
I want to see that, and I want to experience it because I have seen the same sort of things you have, right? Which is like, look at this katana master. He can swing a sword. Look at this idiot. And it's like a fully athletic guy who doesn't do as well. And I'm like, what is the trick? Do you need to like slice instead of chop? You know, maybe add a little forward to aft movement on the sword.
Got to be technique because
and angle.
There's clips of
because if the blade isn't like perfectly aligned and at the way you're blade like slicing, angle. if you twist the blade even slightly, then you lose all of that.
Imagine cutting a tomato with a non-serrated edge, right? If you just pressed straight down on it, you might smush it. But if you gave it a little slide while you cut it, that tomato would slice.
Yeah.
And I think there might be something there in swordplay too.
They're like pulling as they're slicing. Because it's definitely technique, because there are YouTube videos of guys doing that to like 7 of those reed bundles.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call a bundle of sticks?
The Tawny mat.
And then they cut through them all, and they're just using a knife, and yet they're doing like 8 of them in a row.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Really,
the knife competitions are amongst my favorite. Like sometimes they're a little bit like cleavers, and so the first they like slice tomatoes paper thin, then they cut a rope, then they cut a brick, then maybe slice some more tomatoes, and you're like, god damn, that's a good knife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, become a sword guy, man, and you're not going to hurt yourself. Like, just don't be dumb and you won't hurt yourself.
And if you do, you have 2 eyes already. How many you need? Greedy.
I'm not worried about my eyes. I'm worried about like swinging.
Do?
I'm worried about over swinging and like slicing my femoral artery and bleeding out before I can even get to my phone.
Dude, if I was staying over at your house and like I woke up late morning and I walk out and you're dead from like a sword accident, I am hiding your body. I'm making up a story for you. This is because I care about you. I would not let your legacy be that you killed yourself with a sword in your yard. I'd frame someone. I would do something to
say it was a duel. Say it was
You're such a good friend. I'm printing out his browser history and tweeting.
No, I'm like, man, I'm not going to solve this on an empty stomach. Let's go in the kitchen.
Well, you have a sandwich first.
Sandwich, play with rocks.
Say I was dueling someone over honor.
Yeah, it's something like that. Hide your body, because I wouldn't let that be your legacy.
Yeah.
Oh, just keep the dogs in the house. If you keep the dogs in the house, there's no way you accidentally cut yourself gruesomely with a sword.
How so?
Well, like what? Tell me the kind of moves you're imagining, like doing.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I've got some sort of target set up and I go to hit it, but I've never swung a fucking sword before, and I like lose my balance a little and like swing all the way through and hit myself in the knee or the fucking foot or the shin or something like that. But I didn't hit myself with a stick or like an axe that'll, if you've ever been chopping wood, sometimes you bump yourself and it'll bounce off.
And it can slice a couple tendons on the top of your foot. I'm just saying that can happen. Yeah. It's a pretty traumatic experience sometimes.
but unfortunately, I've got like a competition slicing falchion.
Yeah, but you also played baseball.
Century.
Like you played baseball, you have some coordination.
Is that a type of sword?
Yeah. But so yeah, I'm a little worried about that. But
is it Falchion?
I'm almost positive that it is that. Yes.
It was. God, Taylor, you fucking suck. Oh, this looks like a pirate sword.
Yar.
Yar. Yar, it would be.
Yar.
No, I wouldn't. If you're going to lean in, don't start with like a pirate sword. Start with like a What's the most basic kind of sword you can think
Well,
of?
it would be
Just
the
like a knight
gladius.
sword.
So I also thought that it would be smart to get a sword that makes a good accessory to a Halloween costume. Because like maybe I could be a Roman soldier one year, and looky there, Kyle's got a Roman gladius, and the thing would be, you could walk anywhere you want wearing a real gladius, and nobody would say boo because it's Halloween.
Yeah, that's okay. Then gladius is clearly the right move.
A good gladius is like $250 to $350.
I say that's a reasonable price. I mean, granted,
so,
I've never
too.
looked at the market for swords outside of
Well,
a couple minutes.
Gladius it is. I'll get
Gladius.
that thing ordered up.
Get it with like a jewel on the pommel, like something. So I don't know, something cool looking on it. That would be neat. Like this one. This one has a little eagle or something down there at the bottom on like a crest, kind of.
Get a little amber
Aquila?
jewel with a bug in it.
Yeah, is that an Aquila?
Aquila? I know
Aquila?
it's a Q, but I think you pronounce it the G.
You might be right.
Aquila?
Either way, get a fucking sword.
This is the site I would use. It's
I got a little lost. Is an Aguila the name of the picture on that circle or the circle?
it's just that wrong. It's just that eagle that's facing one
okay.
direction. That's an Aquila.
Yeah,
I think it's G, but it could be Q. I know there's spelled with a Q, but I think it's pronounced with a G. Could be wrong. This is the website that I've been recommended to get like a real deal sword. They also have armor and shields and LARPing weapons and gear. So
you can get war hammers.
Yeah, Kyle, I feel like you're half-assing this with no armor whatsoever.
you're right. You're right. Dude, that guy's looking kind of hard over there in that armor. Look at him.
Yeah,
We have a whole subsection for Asian pole arms. That's pretty sweet. The Naginata. That's what that lady in Shogun was practicing with. Yeah.
Yeah.
$50.
That lady's very attractive. I'm super into
this is the married chick.
Yeah, the translator from Shogun.
Yeah.
Super attractive.
Mhm.
The most recent episode was really good. There was a part where the guy's trying to sort of teach our white Englishman how to use a fucking katana. And I liked that he didn't have any skill with it whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm glad that too. So if you're not watching Shogun at all, to the listeners, there's this white guy who sails to Japan. And along the way, he bumps into this samurai, and the two are kind of natural combatants, enemies. They don't like each other.
They're frenemies, I feel like.
Okay. Early in the show, it made it seem like they might fight, and it wasn't clear to me who would win. As the show progressed, clearly the guy who's made a living hand-to-hand combat is head and shoulders better at hand-to-hand combat. And I like that they did that, because even though he's the star of the show, that doesn't mean that he can beat up everyone like he's fucking William Shatner.
Yeah, he tried to hold the sword the way you'd hold like a pirate sword at first, like a fencing, like a rapier or something. Like you went to hold it like
one-handed, leaning forward.
One-handed, like, and
Saber.
so clearly it was like, oh, he doesn't know this. He doesn't know the way of the samurai.
Yes. Yeah, he tried to hold a sword one-handed, and the guy's like, two. And then didn't he even do two wrong at first? I forget. But
yeah, I thought it was a little mean.
Him.
The English guy didn't bully them for having terrible cannons.
Oh, that'd be great if he just walked up like, pick up your gun. All right, good. Bam! Like shoot him in the leg. Oh, you see? You've got to shoot me first before I can shoot you. He's reloading the whole time. See, even now you should be shooting me, but clearly you're not because you don't know how this game works.
Well, I'm sorry. Do your guns suck? Is that why we're winning? Like,
yeah, I'm looking forward to if there's not a scene in this show. We have 3 episodes left where somebody talks mad shit, and then our English gentleman pulls an Indiana Jones and just goes bang and shoots somebody. I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be really disappointed if that doesn't happen. I need that moment to happen because these people are so fucking stuck up their own asses with their crazy Japanese Bushido that it's infuriating at times. It's Japanese feudal sort of not feudalism, but what's the chivalry? This is like their version of chivalry. I want to.
They're over the top with their rituals and manners. Like our society's polite, and we maybe follow the rules without even thinking twice about it. But their society is really another level. Just the amount of rules that you need to follow, and
Yeah.
The consequences are just absurd.
there's only one consequence.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh, did
Everything is
you
kill yourself?
remove a dead bird from a string? Death. Did you steal anything? Death. Did you
That's a
adultery?
meme.
Death. Like everything, death. What? There's a
It's
meme?
also death. Yes, yes. Believe it or not, also death. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Punishment for killing your mother? Life in prison. Surprise, surprise. Yeah.
The most recent episode, I felt like the plot didn't move a ton. It did. Significant things happened, but I can tell you what happened in the last episode in 9 seconds. And if that's true, not enough happened.
I felt like the last episode, I don't know if our main guy, I think so much of our main character, the Japanese guy, like what's his name?
Nobunaga or something. Yeah.
Whatever it is. I'm struggling. But I think so much of him strategically, and then he had that conversation with the prostitute lady, and I'm like, does our guy have some aces up his sleeve, or is he really at his wit's end? Because he's so smart, and the way the show works, there's no sort of time where he winks at the camera and goes, "Don't worry, we got this." And they sort of talk about how the Japanese people have multiple hearts, like one you show to the world, and maybe one you show your friends, and one you don't show anyone. These different sides of yourself. And it seems like we never get to see him revealing any of his other hearts to anybody. Everything's on the inside. So I don't know if he's worried or not. I can't tell.
He doesn't have so I'm sorry to cut you off. But the guy that you're talking about, the main leader,
yeah,
he the way that he operates, nobody is a trusted ally. Like not even his children, really. His children are maybe a little incompetent, and that's why.
Yeah.
But his brother, like no one in this whole world does he consider trustworthy. And it's been working for him. Like he's kind of
that old man, maybe. And I love that moment from this episode. If you plan to watch it, this is a tiny bit of a spoiler, but at the beginning of the episode, it's a flashback to when the Japanese guy was 12 and he'd won this great battle. And the enemy bows to him, and the enemy's going to disembowel himself. And the way they do that, you have a second, which means you have a guy there with a sword who's going to lop your head off after you have ritualistically disemboweled yourself to fulfill honor. So you don't have no need to continue suffering and like die 2 days later. And this guy bows to our 12-year-old. You beat me. It's over. Gets on his knees, goes to gut himself, and his like main homie like steps out. It's like, "I got you, boss." And he's like, no, I want the new warlord to be my second. And then it cuts, and at the very end of the episode, like that story comes back up, and he's like, "Man, I made a mess at that." And the other guy's like, "Yeah, 12 hits before you got that fucking head off. Jesus, it was awful."
Who chooses a child to be their second, right? Yeah.
That was the best line of the whole episode.
Earlier in the episode, they retold the story as if he chopped the head with one try. And the guy who took 12 tries just let that version of it, go out in public. But when Private rolled around, it was what Kyle said. Like, yeah, I made a mess of that.
Fucking tries.
Yeah, I really should have picked a child to do that.
Yeah, I'll say this: the plot didn't move significantly, but I felt like I learned a bit about our the Japanese guy, just watching him sort of deal with maybe the potential that he's lost, and watching him mull over that problem. But I won't spoil the end of the episode, because I promise you guys, if you're not watching the show, it's really worth watching. My jaw dropped in the last like 30 seconds of that episode. A character dies, and it's like, holy fucking shit. I haven't felt like this since Game of Thrones, I think. To not just the surprise that someone died, but how it happened was so like out of left field. It was bizarre and a little funny and just fucked up.
He didn't die a real hero's death. And I like that. I like that he didn't die a superhero's death. And I like that a noteworthy character, it's not like a main character, but a noteworthy character dies. And I like that in every show. It's one of the reasons I hung on to Walking Dead as long as I did to the end, because no one's safe in The Walking Dead. They really do kill people. Rick, for all intents and purposes, died. Pretty much everyone from season 1 didn't make it to the end, except for Daryl and Carol. So yeah, Invincible. If you're watching that cartoon, a significant person dies in it, and as far as I know, unless they come back. But I like it when they kill people.
Oh, did you happen to watch that YouTube video about that Japanese swordsman, that Musashi guy or whatever his name is?
I hated it.
Hated it. He did.
Oh my god, it was. And I'll tell you, I'm glad you brought it up because I got so excited. Jackie and I, we start every night with like a couple of YouTube videos before we go to like Netflix and then bang. So I'm like, Jackie, tonight we have another Kyle recommendation, but this is going to make up for the last one. This one's going to be awesome.
What was the last one?
It was a sci-fi one, and the first part was pretty good, the one you told us about, but it was like a 9-part story, and you didn't watch the other 8. And we sat through like, it must have been
an hour and a half,
120 minutes, like 110 minutes, something like that. It was pretty long for all of it. And she just like, do we have to listen to it all?
The first 2 or 3 were good. You got the battle in, the aftermath of the battle, and then it was like the queen starts thinking and making stuff, and I was like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, and I consider it a writing mistake. Like if you're gonna make up names for like a new race, for one of them to be like the Clavakians and the other to be the Clatantians or something, like that's just, I got a little mixed up somewhere during the storytelling. And then like a race had to change the name of the race and the planet, and it was like, this is harder to follow now. Thanks for that.
Fair.
But we listened to the swordsman one too, and we are both emotionally poorer for having heard it.
So for those that are curious, it is the story. There's this Japanese swordsman named Musashi Miyamoto, and he's kind of regarded as the greatest swordsman of all time in Japan. And he, I don't remember what his record was. Obviously it was but he was like, at the time there were, if you had a duel with someone, there'd be an audience. He especially over time, he became so famous that there were audiences and scribes kind of keeping score and making sure there was no funny business. And he somehow like killed dozens of men in single combat. And it wasn't just some random guy on the field, because I often think that it's like a knight on the field on his horse with his 250,000 in adjusted pounds armor is just pub stomping guys with rakes. Like he can kill 30 a day. But this guy's facing off against some of the considered the greatest swordsmen, also his competitors. And the one story I sent, while I'll admit, isn't a great story, and it kind of gets to the point right away. I thought it was cool as shit that supposedly he met what was to be his greatest challenger, and he employed multiple sort of techniques to make the other guy mad at him, including not bringing a sword. He showed up to a sword duel with a boat paddle. And he won. He beat the other guy to death with a boat paddle. And I don't know, something about that was hilarious to me. I watched some old Japanese movie today that depicts that scene. It was awful, the scene. It was awful. Plus, there were no subtitles. But what I really didn't like is in the story, they say that he just like beat him, like pummeled him till there was gore. But in the movie, he just sort of like hits him once, and that just kills the guy. And it's one of those where he doesn't know he's dead yet until the blood starts like trickling down.
Yeah,
like, come on, you hit him with a boat paddle. It's not like you hit him with a sword so sharp you can't feel it. Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that was neat. But I'll admit the telling of the story and the story itself weren't like dynamite.
Yeah, it wasn't our cup of tea. The next one we're gonna love.
I'll go back to the drawing board. I'll try to come back with something good.
It's okay. I give her tons of shows that she doesn't want to see. I've been watching sailing videos lately. That's the other thing I was thinking about.
I have 2 recommendations for your show before we go to your sailing video, though. If you
go
want.
on.
So one of them will be The Great. It's just The Great. It's about Catherine the Great. It's real cutesy. It's the true story, the historical story of Catherine the Great of Russia, and how she started off as just this woman who was married to the prince or the king or whatever, or the czar, and just treated like baggage or like a sex slave or something. And she ended up being the czaress or whatever of Russia. It's funny, it's cutesy, it's comedic, and it's a little silly and farcical at times. And they're wearing it looks amazing. It looks like a period drama. So they're in those fantastic castles and they're riding horses and they're all wearing the period correct costumes. That's really good. And oh shit, there was another one that I wanted to recommend.